Good morning, channel friends. Can you hear the echo, Franco? How do you do? So, today's project is super cool. This won't be a project I finish today, it's an entire room. It's large and has been neglected for years. My 3 children have come and gone, and this living room is really a mess. It has become the dumping ground for everything not immediately needed. But now I'm fed up. It's messy and deserves to be pampered. So, what do I do? Work alone? No, I can't, it's too big. Emma is coming, but I need some help. That's why I called my friend Luca. You are a Magic Paint reseller.
Yes, I am a reseller. Since 2020, since pre-pandemic, it seems bad to remember before and after pandemic, though. Come on, it's not a too bad memory after all.
Moreover, this year you have also opened a little magic shop in Turney. A little magic shop, yes. But if you go to Turney, you should visit both the magic shop and the other one. You'll enter Toyland, and you can't help but spend it all in there. Details aside, Luca will also bring me several items to place in here. Apart from this, I chose Luca because he is very eclectic, but also because he really understands the environments and personalities of people. So I thought I could do it. I could call lots of people I know to help me, but for this project, I want Luca's help.
Just for the difficult ones.
Yes, indeed. Gyms where there are no gyms, pools where there are no pools, and this living room is a mess. It's difficult because this is an important house with its own history, so I can't take credit for anything as I found it practically with this soul.
We'll use what it has.
We need to make the most of its essence. We are responsible for something wonderful.
Yes. But I know we will make this environment practical and frame it just right.
Yes, but we will be working on furniture, a bed, a chest of drawers, furniture to restore, and a paneling. We won't finish today. It will be an epic let's get started.
In episodes.
The furniture has been moved, placed in the center. They are in their final arrangement, ready for the makeover. Anita, can you help me to clean the boiserie? We have to do our bar first. How do we do it?
We put approximately 4 liters of water, about 2 tablespoons of baking soda, and half a glass of ammonia.
We will do our bar and clean with a soft cloth, washing all the paneling, being careful not to touch the walls. And the water, our bar, needs to be changed when it gets dirty. So if you see the water cloudy, you need to change it immediately. Once our bar has been done, you need to rinse. So first do our bar everywhere. Then always use a hot water bucket, because hot water is important as it carries the surfactant and degreases well, and we rinse everything. While Anita washes here, I will start with my piece of furniture. On this piece of antique furniture, I need to restore several things. Someone over the years has put on sloppy paint, dripping gold all over the place. If you look closely, you can see some ugly imperfections. Always remember, if you have to touch old pieces and ruin them, just stop. It is better anyway either to leave it as it is, until you have the opportunity, or call someone to help you. I don't know why they did it here, probably because it was chipped. They took some gold paint, and they made a mess on the rosette part, painting it with a brush. So I have to reproduce all these colors and rebuild everything, both the gilding and the antiquing, which at the time was done with liquid bitumen, and I will use liquid waxes. This is a beautiful piece of furniture, but it still needs help because it has been damaged by whoever handled it. Come and see. Look at this. You see this is gold, and they applied this paint with a brush, and they went out and painted without holding back everywhere. Here they made this piece and poured gold over it. You see, it's poorly done here. If you examine this point, in trying to make this golden edge, they poured underneath and made this mess. When I tell you, if you are not able, do not touch, it is for this reason, because there are pieces that have an important history behind them. For example, this one is all hand painted. Look at this door. It is all hand painted, and you can notice the decorations underneath, which are truly magnificent. It was given to me by Monica, a friend of mine, years ago, and I have fixed one, the slightly smaller one that was at her house. And now it's time to fix mine, which has been here for so many years, because I didn't have the time to focus on it alone, and I thought rather than do it badly, I'll do it when I have the time. Now it's time to fix it. So, a soft cloth, a good wash, as I need to work on it later. We remove all the leftovers and also remove some of the liquid bitumen, preventing me from working on the base. Before starting its makeover, we need to think about the structure. It is well-made furniture. It is made of solid wood. It is sturdy. It has been moved over the years and has been slightly damaged. This is a side piece and it is moving. I will reattach it using Mastro di Zucca, a fantastic glue for this type of use. Afterwards, once the first part is glued, and I will use a clamp to help me, I will also fix the side, because over the years it has been moved badly and has come unglued. At the top, you can still see the remnants of old glue, so we will use the screw, starting from the inside and going outwards, to also reattach the side. After that, we will set it upright on its legs and begin the work. So, one important thing is not to rush, and you should have all the materials you need. Don't start anything like this if you don't have the clamps, the glue, everything you might need. Remember that this type of glue is unforgiving, so wear gloves or your hands will stay black for weeks. We know something about it. Emma and I tried it. A small spatula. If you don't have one, you can also use a small pointed stick. Use an old knife, whatever you like, and start slowly working and inserting the glue into the inner part. C. It is important to understand that in some places they use soft glues, animal glues, which are glues that can dry out and come off over the years with heat and cold. This is one of the reasons why restoration is necessary. Be careful, it still has this part that will go inside. It just needs to be fixed. But it is not broken. Now I'm going to glue this part, and also the part underneath. You see here there's a bit of a gap, so I'm going to put this part here as well. I'm going to join it all together with a clamp, and we'll have a nice solid surface. I started putting some Mastro di Zucca on the spatula, pushing it in well. You need to be careful with this step, because you have to remember that this type of glue expands. So if you don't use a clamp, or don't go to the right spot and leave it free to wander, it will expand and come out. So remember, use gloves, a spatula, and the right amount of time to do something like this. Don't do it if you're in a hurry. It doesn't take too long to dry. Let's say around 2 to 3 hours should be fine, but if you can leave it to dry overnight, it's much better. Of course, if there are any excesses, remove them, because once it solidifies completely, it will be very hard to remove. Thank you. Remove the excess with the spatula and a piece of paper, all right. Now Emma and I have already taken our big clamp and 2 pieces of cardboard. Because the clamp obviously cannot be placed on the delicate parts of the wood, right? So, I will place it on this piece of inner support and on the lower part, which is also an inner support, to press and not damage the wood. Get as close as possible to the joining point. Obviously, I can't go here because I have the twisted part of the leg, but I have to join this piece by tightening. So I rely on the clamp here and here. Now Emma slowly turns, screws, and we will see it getting closer. A bit more. Keep going. I'll tell you when to stop. Keep going. You can see once it is brought close to its maximum, it doesn't move. Once this piece, the main and most important one, is joined, then we'll finish the inside. So, we will put another small clamp for the piece of wood underneath and work on the rest. It is firm and doesn't move, so we wait for the glue to set, and this part will be well glued. Once solid, the Mastro di Ascia glue is like cement, so don't worry, it's an amazing glue. As you can see here, it looks whiter because as it takes in oxygen, the glue becomes lighter and expands. So remember, if you have any small excess, clean them up immediately. Here you go. Nice and clean. I'll work on this part. One still need to glue with a clamp, and I will tidy everything up. These are the original and authentic handles and keyholes, including the small leaf, which is actually the knob used to open the door. I soak them for an hour in vinegar and salt, because these old alloys need careful handling to avoid adverse reactions. Vinegar and salt are good for removing oxidation, the outer layer. After that, they need to be washed with water, soap, and a small brush. You always have to wash them well. I also keep and soak the nut to remove the oxidized part, as there's rust. And I close it to avoid dripping. I use white vinegar, the one that you use for salad. I cover everything. Don't throw this solution away. Keep it in this jar, closed, to reuse it later. Then I add some fine salt. I create it by eye. There isn't a recipe. I close it. I stir slightly so that the salt dissolves a bit and leave it here. In about an hour, I'll check if it's good. I wash with the sponge and go well into the engravings. If it's still not good, I leave it for another hour. Don't forget it all night. There are handles completely ruined by this solution because it corrodes. Luca, it's now time to decide what color I will apply to the paneling. Because Alessandra, who will be here tomorrow, wants to know what we have decided for the backdrop. Because according to the backdrop, everything changes. There may be shades that absorb more shadow or light. So we need to be careful about what we propose. I already know there are 2 colors you would never choose, but I included them because people at home need to see them. At home, they are anxious that if they don't brighten up the room with a light color, it won't be luminous.
However, it is often the other way around. Be careful.
That's right. The obvious color ages the room. So let's start by saying that I don't mind having this room bright, meaning that I use it more as an evening relax area, a leisure area. I don't play cards. I don't crochet. It's a room I enjoy as a cozy, pampering place. But I would also love to honor what is on the walls, while modernizing a lot and adding a touch of contemporary. There are colors not suitable for this, but we will demonstrate at home that using a light color does not always rejuvenate, rather it does often do the opposite.
Yes, and what we are about to do is something we recommend to everyone because we may have imagined something, but when we relate to reality, this image is somewhat distorted. Instead, what we are about to do is something useful, and we can reuse it, keep it aside for other tests, etc. We will create a giant color palette to compare with the paneling, where we will apply the colors we thought best suited to this style. There are no real techniques, because at home everyone has their own taste, and we make our own combinations according to our taste. We will obviously use our own taste here, but in this color palette, we have picked up everything we have in here as a color, and then we will work out what we think looks best.
So, I applied clear sand, a color that I almost always forbid when you have houses with, let's say, strong colors like mine. I don't like those who always recommend light colors because they brighten up the space. For me, the lightest color allowed here is this one, which is dark sand. And in some houses, dark sand is a full gray. It almost looks like a very dark color. Here, if you look at it, placed in this room, you see that it is almost white. It absorbs the color. So, be careful. If you have warm floors, classic floors, if you have areas that cannot handle whites, don't just take advice from a friend, the neighbor, or the person who sold you the tiles saying that white always brings light, because it doesn't work that way. It's a vague answer. You are good, nice, kind, but they know that I am mean. Jokes aside, up close you can see, Franco, the total difference between dark sand and clear sand. And it's a world of difference. Look here. Now I'll add Rocha. You already said that you don't want it. Why?
Should I say it?
Yes, you explain it, just a bit.
Well, we've already said it won't be Rocha, because we would make everything too similar. So we'll be in an environment that is all too uniform, and since this is to be the area where we start and end a day, we actually need to relax, as well as to have light, brightness, and so on. But light colors, as we said before, do not always provide light.
This is something I'm highlighting a lot lately, even with wallpaper, even explaining that darker ceilings compared to the walls do not take away light, quite the opposite. To give light, there are walls to be made light, and there are walls to be made dark. Look at the difference, spread out here. At home, people would never say there's this difference between these whites. And then I often receive some husbands who are crazy. They come in and tell me they want a white, but what white? A white, but I have 7 white. This one for me is white, for example. And they say then it's not white. You see the perception we have of whites changes.
Yes, however, any color next to another changes a lot too.
And now we apply the new white. This is the new white. Since it arrived, pepper blue has shaken everyone's conscience. Let's put it that way. And it is the true new white, because people realized that, when used sparingly and placed in the right spots, it gives an incredible elegance and brightness as it highlights and illuminates everything else.
And it captures many styles.
Exactly. It really goes well with Baroque, classic furniture, and IKEA furniture. I often mention IKEA furniture since furniture might be more squared and modern to convey a type of style, as IKEA owners have a clear style in mind. All right, we have 4 completely different colors. An ivory white, so that tends neither to gray nor to optical white. A sand color, because dark sand is a sandy white that becomes either warm if it is near a warm floor or wall, a warm light, or cold if it's near cold tones. So if you have a tile that is cement-like, it becomes gray. If you have a terracotta floor, it becomes warm. It's very chameleon-like. Rocha, a light color, it's no longer white. It's a very, very light hazelnut. It looks great in classic environments. Applied on linear, square furniture, it looks good because it provides a very warm effect. Pepper blue looks good everywhere. In summer, in winter, in spring. Whoever tries it then is biased. So, take the palette and we'll see it on the paneling. Is it easier now?
Yes.
Emma, be sure to send a photo of this shot to Alessandra so she can organize herself. Using the Rocha was a bit too predictable. The Rocha takes up a lot of the background, but it's predictable. It doesn't create a contrast. It doesn't create the effect I want. This is completely wrong. This is when you listen to the neighbor, who suggests you to use clear sand, which is always good. The neighbor, not the kind one, the nosy one that wants to meddle in your business.
The jealous neighbor.
The envious one that checks when you come and go with the boyfriend. Watch out. Seriously though, This is not a color you necessarily place everywhere, even if it is one of Magic Paint's best-selling colors, because it looks so good in so many environments, but maybe play on the furniture. Here it would look very bad. And then there is pepper blue. Pepper blue is not present in these frescoes, even though we have some stronger blue tones, almost a cobalt. But this pepper blue placed here is like a pass key, timeless elegance that will look beautiful now and will still look beautiful in a few years.
It will be a frame.
Are you still sure, or want to try another one?
I'm sure.
So,
Pepper blue.
or they'll see soon.
They'll see.
Let's go. We will start with the first coat. We'll work like this. A first coat of pepper blue magic paint all over, and then instead of applying a second coat of paint, if needed, and the protective coat, we will apply a coat of magic wall. The protective paint is already inside magic wall, and it has a very nice semi-satin finish. Additionally, it will greatly help Alessandra, as she will create some blazes with magic wall. The brush glides wonderfully when using magic wall with magic wall. We will apply it to the paneling with a pointed brush, ideal for these purposes, and we will use a new roller, the one with the nap. You see this with paper tape. Why? Because if you have already used it once and it's a bit wrinkled, this will lift the hair and make it soft and fluffy again. That's very important, because if it's soft and fluffy, it doesn't leave marks. So I put the paper tape on it. Then I take it off and it stays like a nice plush toy, nice and soft. What do we do now? We always keep our roller close by. It must always be loaded, see. This roller is exceptional because, whether used with paint, with wall, or with protective paint, it does not leave marks. But one fundamental thing is to always use it fully loaded. You must not press nor take too little product. Pointed brush and I pick up some color. This tray is perfect because you drain the color and don't waste it. Let's go. With the brush, you do all the outlining. Look at how well pepper blue covers. So we take the paint, we do all our outline properly, everywhere. Then, using the roller, we will carefully paint the flat part. This way, we will do it faster and better, and we will lay a beautiful coat of paint for Alessandra to work on. Any questions? Do you like it? Do you like it laid out? We can confirm what we have said before. So, this roller has to be nicely loaded. So you take color, lightly unload it, so that it still has product on it, and then you approach it and try to cover it lightly, gently, without skimping and dragging. Okay. You must not stretch it, or you will have the opposite effect. Instead of covering, you will remove paint. Look, this is just a single coat. One coat is perfect and already enough. You see, now I get to the end here and that's it. I could do another piece, but I won't. Otherwise, I would be taking away instead of adding. Look, the final coat is really light and velvety. I need to leave the paint on the surface so that it has a chance to self-level. This is a roller specifically designed for the application of Magic Paint and Magic Wall products. So please remember, it is not a normal nap roller. It has slightly longer fibers and really helps with coverage. But most importantly, it helps to avoid marks, which is something everyone tries to do when using a roller. People almost always use a roller because they don't like the brush strokes, right? Did you see the amazing coverage?
Awesome.
Last stroke. I did the entire panel, which is almost a square meter, and it took me little time. Remember that this is just the first coat. There will be a second one, which will be the finish one, because we'll use Magic Wall, and with the second coat, I will have an even more velvety result, because the Magic Wall is semi-satin. So besides being washable, covering, fragrant, and water repellent, it is also semi-satin and provides a very beautiful effect. And there you go. So this is just the first coat, and I would say it is truly spectacular.
Absolutely.
I do this because I want to remove the marks of the final brush stroke, smoothing it out like this, because I don't want to have different roller marks in height. That's it. Remember not to skimp. Why? If you overstretch it, you don't allow the paint to self-level and it leaves marks. So remember, when you are using the roller and you don't want to have brush strokes on the edges and you don't want the roller marks, you need to leave a bit more product, a bit more paint, so that with the final touch-up, you get a nice smooth surface. So guys, shall we continue? In order to avoid putting paper tape on the fresco, which is not the case, we put some paper tape near the door so as not to get it dirty, because we don't want to color it at all. And here on the upper part of the fresco, just use the small spatula, and when you remove it, it's perfect. I'll show you again. When you want to be very precise in a spot, but you want to or cannot use tape, you want to save time, you don't like the idea of spending 2 hours putting on tape, take a spatula like this one, okay. See, work in this smooth way. Removing it, you have saved time by not placing paper tape, but everything is nice and clean. Yesterday, we were productive, as by evening we applied the first coat of magic paint all over and finished the paneling. Why magic paint on the paneling? Because on such a glossy panel, I preferred to apply a first coat of magic paint. But remember, if you have a boiserie like mine and is made of matchboards that are close to each other, or if you don't have a particular feature like mine with the material's glossiness, you can also apply directly with Magic Wall, because 2 coats of Magic Wall are very, very resistant. Now I need to think about something. How much wear and tear will this paneling have? Will I wash it daily like a kitchen? No, I will dust it when needed. Will I wash it every day like a chair or like a table? No. Always remember, the type of protection you use shouldn't be thought of as an obligation. I have always said it. I had a table for many years when my children were babies, and I always protected it with oil and wax. So it's up to you to know how to protect and maintain the furniture you paint. This paneling will indeed be on the sides, and you should think in the same way even if you happen to make beams on the ceiling, ceilings that are still made of wood, materials that are not just walls, but also wood, panels that are placed on the walls or ceilings. So if you don't have daily wear and tear on these materials from washing, like something you wash, because you get it dirty daily from cooking, for example, you can safely use Magic Wall. If you want to see how the wall behaves when placed on a paneling outside, watch the tutorial I did a year and a half ago, also with Luca. I did the whole porch with a boiserie that I recovered from a house. My carpenter fixed it, leveled it, and we painted it. Today, it's been more than a year of sun and rain. We are in Piedmont, where the temperatures are a bit different from the rest of Italy. It is perfect, it hasn't cracked, it is water repellent, and the sun hasn't faded it, as the wall has a high percentage of pigmentation, much more than magic paint. Choose Magic Wall for those outside paneling, exterior walls that get wet or small dividing walls. Magic Wall is a great solution for mold and for surfaces flaking from absorbing too much water. Magic Wall is water repellent and also acts as a preservative over time. So, I will apply the second coat on this paneling with Magic Wall because, since Alessandra will come eventually, and she has to decorate and do something elegant that I would like to see, I have wanted to see it for a while. I have been courting her for this tutorial for some time. I want her brush to glide over this paneling, and with Magic Wall, it will glide even more, giving different glazes as Magic Wall is not magic paint. It is resin-based and therefore will be completely different. A bit more modern, but Luca and I also wanted to clearly differentiate between the wall, which is antique, and the paneling, which is modern. It does not have an antique look. So the semi-satin finish of the wall, it is perfect for us, because it works perfectly for this new makeover that needs to be done. Watch closely, as the same method I used for magic paint is now used for Magic Wall. Always pepper blue. Because we are going tone on tone, and you shouldn't be alarmed if you see a difference in color when applying pepper blue Magic Wall. Resin colors, made with resin, darken more than colors made with chalk. So when you take the brush and apply the first coat of wall, you will see a different blue. Don't worry, because this blue, once it dries, will darken and blend perfectly with the blue you have already applied. I talk about blue as I am using blue, but the same goes for the other magic paint and Magic Wall colors. So I behave exactly as I did yesterday. A nice stroke with the pointed brush on all sides to remove any defects that may be in the shading of the side panels. There you go. And then with my roller, the roller I used yesterday for magic paint, I smooth the surface in the center of the panel. I did this to make the task easier for Alessandra, in the sense that her brush will glide much better if there aren't too many textured brush strokes underneath, and she will be able to apply an even smoother, more linear and velvety finish on this panel. Since I built suspense and you are waiting for Alessandra to arrive, I must hurry up since you will want to see her in action. Always make sure to spread the paint with a fully loaded roller. You should never press this roller. The paint should be applied with a loaded roller and gently. I don't mind if you do it horizontally because it's more comfortable, and then vertically. The important thing is that you immediately smooth the surface without pressing and make everything soft, homogeneous and velvety. Okay. This is achieved by using a full and loaded roller. The roller must not be empty. Do not dilute the paint at the end just to have more because it's noticeable. Even if you add just 5 grams of water, it will be noticeable. To achieve an even application, you have to apply it with a full roller, and as soon as you finish, very carefully and thoroughly smooth like this to remove any possible marks. Okay, but it's just a treat, a finish as if it were a feather. You see, I won't press nor pick up some color, I won't cover. Just a touch. Now I use the brush, because I have surely smudged the sides with the roller. I take the brush and gently wipe it on the sides, as I am doing now. And I am going to remove any drips, any smears caused by the roll. Don't worry if you see a different shade where you haven't applied it, as it will unify as it dries and it will darken. And my paneling is finished like this, because Ale will use Magic Wall for decoration that has protective paint inside, so I won't need any protective coatings. This wall will be water repellent, washable, and fragrant because it is jasmine scented. We will have a fragrant house. I keep going. As Ale is starting to mix her colors to do the paneling, and while Luca is finishing applying the coat on the entire paneling, we are moving forward with our furniture. There's quite a lot to do here as well. So we start by creating the base color to hide all the scratches on this piece of furniture. So let's start by saying that this is not a restoration, but it's a touch-up, because I want to remove the unsightly marks and chips that unfortunately have been created over the years by bumping into this unit. So my intervention will be minimal. I will fix the gilding, which is ugly and smudged, and the background. I will retouch it before applying the knobs again, which screw in wrong and risk scratching the underlying surface. So I create the color, touch up spots where there are the knobs. We put the knobs on. If we scratch or scuff, we still have time to fix everything, and then we can proceed with the makeover. So, to create a shade as close as possible to the one already on the furniture, you have to start with Marron Glacé, which you know is our protective paint nut color. I use the satin version and put some in this small bowl. I have to do all the furniture. I put in quite a bit. Emma and I had actually already tried this mixture. We will show you, and the good thing is that it's viscous since it's protective. So it glides well. On the other hand, it is also rather sheer, so it may not cover immediately. But we don't want to make a patch. We want to create a glaze that hides the flaws, so we're fine with it. We added a bit of Marron Glacé, a bit of Torta di Zucca, a tiny touch of red, and a tiny touch of black. I'll show you how to create it with my colors, as I know they stick to this piece of furniture. You should try all of this in a bottle cap, okay? Don't use a bowl to test. Take a bottle cap, add 4 to 5 drops of color to recreate the shade on a small scale. Then do it on a large scale to avoid waste. The largest percentage of color will be Torta di Zucca, exactly. So I just add it in slowly. Should I add some more Torta di Zucca? A small bit, yes, just a little. As you can see, I don't use spoons. I only use the brush to avoid waste, and the tip of the product goes directly where it needs. Okay, I'll add some red. Just to warm it up. Let's add a touch of black, just a little, to give it slightly more depth. Remember, the Magic Paint Black is unique because it has shades of both green and brown. It's not an absolute black. If you use an absolute black, note it will cool down more than the Magic Paint Black. I'll do a test on the white. Can you do the test with the brush for me? Yes. Is it too brown? I will add some red. Because when we apply it on a white surface, we realize all the shades our color takes, which in reality, when placed on Marron Glacé, are much more veiled. I start. We might be there. You can try it on that very damaged little foot at the back. Okay, then. Yes, I think it's right. Perfect. Now I'm gonna apply this shade using a small brush where there are knobs and keyholes. We put them on as they have already been washed and they are beautiful. Will you show them to me? Then I'll get on with my restoration, while everyone else does their work. On the paneling, I'll go ahead with this first piece of furniture. Look here. Last night, we simply washed them with Marseille soap and a sponge and dried them. Look, it's beautiful. They have a coppery shade. Then, by rubbing it, the underlying gilding came out. Beautiful. I like the antiquing they have maintained with the oxidation. Beautiful. Best of all, they are natural and original. They are not all homogeneous. Emma and I are going to work on putting the knobs on right away. Sadly, I have to fix this base, which you can see has been very damaged as over the years these knobs have loosened, and if they are not still, they can scratch the rest. I don't want this furniture to look new because it isn't. I want it to have its past marks. but I will gently veil them to remove the underlying white tint. Don't worry about the fact that they might be visible later on, because the knob will almost always cover everything, but above all, we will then apply an antique patina using the liquid waxes, so the colors will be much more muted and smooth. I am going to very carefully and gently do just this light tapping in order to remove the scratches I can see here. Now you know that the marron glacé is sheer, so I let it sit for a few moments, then go over it again later to intensify the coverage. Emma, did you find the right place for the knob? Did you find mine? It was easy because there is the patch mark. Perfect, good. After removing all the small defects that were on the background, I move on to removing the major defects that unfortunately are on the gilding. I wouldn't have touched these gildings if they had been original as at the time, if they had been made with gold leaf, if they had been perfect as they were when the piece of furniture was created. Unfortunately, they have already been colored and poorly repainted, so I have to go and color them to make up for the problems created by someone else over the years. Always remember, if you have a piece of furniture that is damaged, worn, but still retains its original patina, it might be worth leaving it as it is. So, you can consider with a professional what is best to do with that piece before going ahead and painting it. I keep this yellow spatula close, which is always very handy, and Rococo, which I am lucky enough to have some leftovers. It's enough for me because it covers really well. I have 1/2 centimeter at the bottom. Why am I lucky? Because Rococo is liquid and it has many pigments inside which concentrate towards the bottom. So, as much as we stir, it could be that if we are not good at stirring, we take it a little more liquid and less covering at the beginning. If you stir it well, you will get it very covering. So since I have the bottom, I will definitely get a perfect gilding. I drain it a bit, and I start with my little spatula to decorate this part. I chose Rococo today, not Re-Mida or anything else, because Rococo's gold shade is exceptional. It's exactly what I needed. With a lot of patience, I will retouch all the golden border of this beautiful furniture. I don't mind if there are still some underlying defects, but be aware that it is a job that requires concentration, a steady hand, and a bit of patience. You can keep a damp cloth nearby so that if you happen to smudge, you can clean it with the damp cloth and make the surface clean again. Also, perhaps take a small trowel, the smaller one, because it might help you work on some slightly more curved parts. I will now do everything with the cabinet lying down, but the finishing in the corners will be done and finished when I have the cabinet on its legs, because seeing these corners from different perspectives helps a lot with a good execution. I am not worried about the damage below. I like it a lot and it is part of the years of the furniture, so I will leave it exactly where it is. So I start. I do all the gilding on the whole cabinet where is already there, the gilding, and after that I will put it on its legs and finish it, looking at it from different angles. Finally, you are there. You made me work today. We have already prepared everything because there will be your involvement now. What are you doing?
I am doing some color tests to see which shades are the most suitable.
Moreover, this color is not easy. You told me to get a medium color, and instead I got you a dark color.
But here I have to tell you something. Here I am a bit distracted. Underneath this wonder, because indeed it is a lot.
So, I am glad I also called Alessandra for this project because, even though it will be very modern and linear, it won't be too artistic. Even if you could create a course to make these things in the future, what do you think? We can do it in the future. A course to teach people how to create painted paneling.
Yes, why not? Engravings and paneling.
Because Ale will come here to paint all these paneling with the right shades to make them modern, stand out from the wall. But not today. Because you start it now, you do it today, they will see it next week, next tutorial. We're not going to show everything today. How long does this tutorial have to be? So, as there are many parts to finish the makeover of this room and to see the environment completely changed, Ale will start with us shortly, but you will see it next Thursday. Is it bad? No, it's fine. So, next week you will see a tutorial on how to make a wall paneling, using Magic Wall of course, and using very contemporary colors on these dark walls, which are not at all easy. Shall we say goodbye? See you at the next makeover.
Goodbye.